Wine and Spirits warehouse in Edison, New Jersey, when immigration and customs enforcement agents stormed the facility. The organization New Labor says that family members rushed to the warehouse with documents in hand, hoping to help their loved ones. ICE is going after criminals while they're targeting places where migrants are simply trying to earn a living.
At 5:30 a.m., 30 ICE officers moved in on one of Amazon's largest fulfillment centers in New Jersey. Drones buzzed overhead. K-9 teams swept the exits. Workers lined up as names were read aloud, and only those with red wristbands walked away. Why did federal agents turn a warehouse into a military-style operation? And what hidden network inside the U.S. supply chain made this raid inevitable? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. How do undocumented workers armed with forged identities slip into the hiring systems of a corporation that processes more applications than some nations process visas? The answer lies in speed. Facilities need thousands of workers on short notice. During holiday surges, hiring managers are expected to fill shifts almost overnight. When the priority is to keep packages flowing, every gap in the system becomes an entry point for people who know how to exploit it. A single warehouse might process hundreds of new hires in a week, leaving little room for deep verification beyond automated checks.
David describes the scene inside his workplace as tense, with people worried and scared. Edison officials say they were notified but did not assist in the operation due to New Jersey's sanctuary state status.
That's where forged documents come in. On the low end, fake IDs can cost as little as $80, crude enough to get rejected in some cases, but good enough to pass initial inspections in fast-moving environments. At the high end, sophisticated counterfeits can cost $500 or more, crafted with stolen data from breached databases. These aren't just laminated cards. They carry names, date of birth, and even scannable barcodes tied to real people. When plugged into payroll and tax systems, the worker suddenly appears legitimate.
Trenton and Edison in the last 24 hours, detaining dozens of workers during a sweeping operation. Here's ICE agents are ramping up enforcement in New Jersey again. Federal immigration authorities hit at least 2 areas. Purpose and people targeted in the operation are still unclear, leaving many to wonder where agents will turn up next.
Federal investigators began noticing the cracks when duplicates kept showing up. Social security numbers attached to multiple workers. ID photos inconsistent with official databases. Routine checks flagged anomalies, but not before months of wages had already been processed. Each anomaly pointed back to broader patterns. IDS already flagged in past human smuggling cases, addresses recycled across multiple job applications, clusters of workers sharing the same birth date. Amazon and other corporations point to advanced systems like E-Verify as proof that they screen aggressively. But investigators showed how easily counterfeit identities fooled those safeguards. The bigger issue wasn't whether a few workers bypassed security. It was that entire supply chains could be infiltrated without detection. For ICE, the warehouse wasn't just an employer. It was evidence of how systemic exploitation had reached the backbone of U.S. commerce. So once the threat was mapped, the next challenge was clear.
We know that dozens of individuals who were here in the country without legal status were detained by the Border Patrol agents. The Patrol agents came to this warehouse facility in Edison where they carried out one of the largest detention operations up against the wall to verify their identification. He said that he saw dozens of people being arrested, being detained.
How do you turn raw intelligence into a strike carried out in total secrecy, without even company executives knowing until it was unfolding? How do you plan a warehouse takedown that looks closer to a military raid than a workplace inspection? The Edison site wasn't just another Amazon building. It processed tens of thousands of packages every day, serving as a key link in East Coast operations. With thousands of employees clocking in and out at all hours, it represented a high-profile target. Federal agents wanted to send a clear warning to corporations across the country: while also preventing any advance notice from leaking out through management. To achieve this, secrecy had to be absolute. The intelligence phase resembled surveillance planning more than routine employment checks. Investigators spent weeks reviewing data, piecing together lists of workers tied to duplicate Social Security numbers and previously flagged identities.
Some would say that that's what happens when you come into the country without legal status or without going through the proper channels. What do you say to that?
New York Times that 29 people were arrested and that the mayor's office and Edison Police Department were aware that the raid would take place.
Legal process in place. Again, have asylum cases still going on, as this administration has said in the past.
Each name was cataloged, with detailed arrest packets circulated only among a small circle of officers. Plainclothes teams observed the facility before the raid, mapping traffic during shift changes and noting which exits workers preferred. The goal was to control movement inside and outside the grounds, leaving as little chance for escape as possible. The actual timing was decisive. ICE chose dawn just before shifts fully turned over. This mirrored tactics often used by military units, striking at a moment when guards are down and workers are still arriving. K-9 units spread out across the loading zones, sniffing for contraband while blocking vehicle exits. At the same time, drones rose into the air, feeding live surveillance to the command team and tracking foot traffic in a warehouse so large that no officer could cover it on the ground. Witnesses described the process as clinical. Workers called in by name were either cleared on the spot and given red wristbands or escorted away in chain-linked formations to waiting vehicles.
Entered the location with a list of other workers and checked the immigration status of each, arresting at least 20 people. In Spanish that he was zip-tied, but after showing proof of his social security and immigration status, he was let go and given this red bracelet. Some with their faces covered are seen standing, as several people believed to be migrants are loaded into a van.
By the end, 15 to 20 arrests were executed. The number itself was small, but the symbolism was different. For federal authorities, the battleground had shifted. Corporations were no longer bystanders in illicit labor networks. They were the field where the fight was taking shape. What happened in Edison begged a larger question. If this was only the first, how many more would follow nationwide? This operation was never about a few undocumented workers pulled from a shift. It revealed how forged identities and exploited systems could quietly penetrate one of the largest corporate networks in America. The concern wasn't payroll errors, it was supply chain integrity and national security. Now the real question is responsibility. Should federal agencies continue staging raids like military operations? Or should companies be held accountable for locking down their own hiring processes before infiltration happens? Because if a single warehouse in New Jersey can be turned into a battlefield at dawn, what other sectors could be next?